More than 30 light novels are coming for your wallet in February, not to mention a whole bunch of brand new series and J-Novel Club properly entering the world of print. Hello everybody and welcome to the monthly look at the brand new light novels that we can expect to pick up over the coming weeks. This is covering all of the releases for February of 2019. There are, at about my rough count, 31 volumes of light novels coming out. Not all of them from different titles, but well, I guess we'll address that as we go. If you're brand new to these series of videos, basically I go over the release dates, the titles that are coming out, give you a little bit of my thoughts or what they're about, and if they're a brand new series, I read the blurb that the publisher has released about the book, because obviously I haven't had a chance to read any of it yet. If you want to keep up with all of the release dates, and maybe if you want to pick up some of these titles from either Amazon or the Book Depository, I have all of that information in the description down below. On February 2nd, this one coming from J-Novel Club, Arifureta from Commonplace to World's Strongest Zero, volume number 2. So this is the second volume of the Arifureta prequel series. This looking at the people who created the labyrinths that Hajime is trying to conquer in the main series. This, of course, second volume coming out, just came out in Japan not too long ago, so J-Novel Club's completely caught up. And it has been announced that as part of the Arifureta publishing deal that Seven Seas has with J-Novel Club, that they are going to be releasing Refaretta Zero in a print format as well to go with the main series. On February 4th from J-Novel Club, we have volume number 3 of Serei Gensouki, Spirit Chronicles. This one, the Isekai series, well, kind of like a reincarnation, Isekai, I don't know, it's a big mix of stuff. Basically about a kid who realizes that he's the reincarnation of a Japanese kid, and he's got some great magical power, yada yada yada, fish out of water, yada yada yada, make his way in the world. You know the story. It's like so many other stories. I actually haven't had a chance to read any of the volumes of this series yet. I do have the first one, and I'm hoping to get caught up on it soon. On February 5th, we have from Seven Seas, Boogie Pop Omnibus Volume number 2. This actually collects the volumes 4 to 6 of the Boogie Pop series. This one, of course, well, how do you even explain Boogie Pop? Because it's such a weird kind of series. It's actually an older light novel series that came out in the early 2000s. A lot of people actually look at Boogie Pop as sort of the roadmap for how light novels have since become very popular in terms of its construction, in terms of how it used images and everything else. Like a lot of people consider Boogie Pop to, even though there were light novels before that, but Boogie Pop seems to be the really big turning point for light novel popularity in Japan. This one, actually, they're having brand new anime series showing right now, which is a much more direct adaptation of the light novels. The old Boogie Pop series, which came out over a decade ago, it was pretty much all original content. They just used some of the light novel stuff as flashbacks to give you some background on the characters. It's just a very interesting series. It's basically about this Shinigami, of course named Boogie Pop, who seems to appear whenever there are threats to the balance of the world or the future of the world, and this it involves, like, I think they're aliens in some cases or other type of supernatural phenomenon. Anyway, a very long running series in Japan. We have not had that many volumes. In fact, for these omnibus volumes, Seven Seas licensed 2 more volumes than what they had licensed initially when they released this series many years ago. If you actually look at these omnibuses, they are massive. They're just huge. I actually feel intimidated looking at these things. I'm kind of like, maybe I'll just buy the individual ebooks. I don't know, but anyway, I've read the first one, thought it was very cool, and even though it was more than 15 years old, I felt it really still stood up with a lot of the light novels that we have currently. Also on February 5th from Seven Seas, we have Volume 4 of Toradora, the romantic slice of life, school life comedy series about two individuals conspiring to hook each other up with their respective friends. And, well, we probably know exactly how this series is going to end, but nonetheless, the journey is a lot of fun. I've read the first volume. I've got the second one that I'm going to be checking out fairly shortly because I really liked the dynamic of the characters in this series, and plus it's a slice of life, which we don't have a lot of, so it's nice to kind of read that as a change of pace. Also on February 5th from Seven Seas, we have volume number 9 of Grimgar of Fantasy Ash. This is the print edition. The J-Novel Club ebook releases are a number of volumes ahead of this. So this is the print edition of volume number 9 of this isekai series about a group of individuals who awaken in a new world with no memory of their previous lives. The only thing they remember about themselves is their names. And it's basically about them becoming soldiers in this world to fight the threats to humanity. It's a much grimmer series than a lot of other isekais, and at least I read the first volume, and definitely the main characters were not OP. Their battles were messy and sloppy and amateurish, and that just really kind of ratcheted up the whole drama of the series. It's definitely one that I keep saying I want to get back to. I actually do have the second volume. Maybe it's something you know what? I'm going to make it a goal of 2019 to read at least 2 more volumes of this series. Also on February 5th, and this is from J-Novel Club, they've got 2 titles coming out on the 5th of February, but there's 4 volumes, 2 volumes of each series, and what makes them special is that it is J-Novel Club's first official foray into print. In the past, of course, they had the deal with Seven Seas, which, like I just mentioned, with Grimgar, where Seven Seas basically put out print editions of J-Novel Club's books. Well, J-Novel Club has now done well enough for themselves that they are getting into print, so they are printing their own books directly. And the first 2 titles that they're launching with are How Not to Summon a Demon Lord, and also In Another World with My Smartphone. Of course, How Not to Summon a Demon Lord, that is the one about a gamer who plays a demon lord in an MMORPG, and he finds himself summoned to another world in the guise of his avatar with all abilities in tow, and because he's a really socially awkward gamer who really never deals with any human beings other than through the game, he decides to basically adopt the persona of his Demon Lord character and carry on in that way. There's a whole bunch of other stuff about this series. You know, the 2 girls who summon him, they try to basically put a slave spell on him so he'll be subservient to them. It backfires, they become his slaves, and all sorts of hilarity ensues. Well, Eshi kind of hilarity ensues. This one actually had an anime not too long ago, which was fairly well received, all things considered. In Another World with My Smartphone, this one also had an anime. I don't think the anime was quite as well received as Demon Lord, but still not bad. It is a very fun series. It's a very, like, hard on its sleeve, we're just going to do whatever the heck we feel like kind of series. It's about a kid who dies in our world and God feels bad about it and basically allows him to be reincarnated in a new world, but as a deal, he can take his smartphone. And while he can't actually contact anyone in our world, he can still look up anything that's on the internet in our world, and it has all sorts of other perks that are useful for the world that he's in. And so, of course, he starts introducing all sorts of our ideas and technology to this world, and, well, just becoming stupidly and ridiculously powerful and wealthy and amassing a huge harem and, well, you know, as isekai things do. So J-Novel Club is releasing the first 2 volumes of each of these series, and then I think they're releasing like the third volumes in just another like 2 months or something, so that they're trying to basically kickstart these series to try and get them a little faster out to market, because the ebook releases, they are much further ahead. In fact, Demon Lord, I'll be talking about it later on in this video. On February 7th, from Seven Seas, we have the digital pre-release of Classroom of the Elite, Volume 1. The cutthroat school drama light novels that inspired an anime. Students of the prestigious Tokyo Metropolitan Advanced Nurturing High School
are given remarkable freedom if they can win, barter, or save enough points to work their way up the ranks. Ayano Koji Kiyotaka has landed at the bottom in the scorned Class D, where he meets Horikita Suzune, who's determined to rise up the ladder to Class A. Can they beat the system in a school where cutthroat competition is the name of the game? This series, a lot of people, myself included, were very much wanting this series. So 7 Seas has delivered. This, like I said, they are actually releasing this now, the digital, in February, but you're going to have to wait a couple more months for the print release. This is something that 7 Seas started off, a couple of different light novels ago, and I guess it's turning out to be a pretty good success for them because it's a practice that they seem to have pretty much adopted across the board. Classroom of the Elite, you know what? It is super popular in Japan, and the anime seems to have done wonders for it in Japan, and I think probably wonders for it here in the North American market in terms of people wanting the light novels. So yeah, finally we're getting it, so have at it. Also on February 7th from J-Novel Club, we have volume number 2 of My Next Life as a Villainess, All Routes Lead to Doom. This one, or it's also called Bakarina, because it's Katarina who is a baka. In any case, this one is about a girl who dies in our world, is reincarnated in another world. The world turns out to be after an otome game that she was playing, and she realizes that she has been reincarnated in the role of the villain of the game, and in that game, basically every route that you could take, the villain met a bad end. Even if the hero lost, the villain still got messed over somehow. Either she was killed, she was exiled, whatever. And so, knowing this, Katarina does whatever she can to try and avoid those bad ends. I've read the first volume of this. I'm definitely picking up the second volume. The first volume was absolutely hysterical, and just Katarina is so charming in her naivete and her cluelessness. It was just a really fun book to read, so I'm really looking forward to this second one. On February 9th from J-Novel Club, we've got a brand new series, and that's volume number 1 of Cooking with Wild Game. Chef trainee Asuta Tsurumi was just a normal Japanese teenager until one day the harassment against his family's restaurant went too far. Desperate to save his father's precious cooking knife, he dove headfirst into a sea of flames. Rather than waking up in the afterlife, though, he found himself in a whole new world entirely. Fortunately for our hero, he soon gets picked up by the huntress known as Aifa. This guardian angel packs some attitude, though, so it won't be all smooth sailing for Asuta. Plus, his savior seems to have some issues of her own to worry about, too. Just how well will our rookie chef be able to parlay his skills in this utterly unfamiliar world? And with all the danger lurking around, will he even be able to survive long enough to put them to the test? Come learn a thing or two about cooking with wild game. I have to say, when I saw this title, my first question was, is it going to be a legit, cooking light novel? I mean, we have so many other light novels. In fact, we have Restaurant from Another World is going to be coming out from 7 Seas in a little while. So we do have cooking light novels starting, but I was kind of like, I wonder if this is actually going to be a legitimate, cooking light novel, or whether it's, he's cooking literally, otherworld wild game. I'm kind of curious about how this whole works out. You know what's funny, though? I should have looked this up because I remember when we announced that this had been licensed, we covered this in the Light Novel podcast, and I was like, this really sounds like some fly-by-night title, but it had something like 12 or 13 volumes. I know it was double digits volumes in Japan. So I was like, there must be something much more to this series than what the description makes it sound, because clearly it is popular enough that it has had a fairly long run. On February 10th from J-Novel Club, we have volume number 1. Hey, it's another brand new series. This one, I Shall Survive Using Potions. One day, the supervisor in charge of watching over Earth was taking care of a distortion when they made a mistake that caused Kaoru Nagase to lose her physical body. Not only that, but reincarnating her into a different, less culturally advanced world is the only thing they can offer to do for her. Not one to take this turn of events sitting down, Kaoru makes a demand, the power to create potions at any time she pleases, with whatever effects she wants it to have. And it doesn't stop there either. She asks for a magical item box, the ability to understand and speak every language, and the same body she had back when she was a 15-year-old girl. Using her newfound powers, Kaoru has to try and make a stable life for herself in a whole new world. Now, what's actually really notable about this series, that is the same author as Didn't I Say to Make My Abilities Average in the Next Life? And I've read the first volume of that series, and I really, really enjoyed it. So I'm kind of excited to check this one out, and I'm really curious how this whole potions mechanic is going to work. Like, you know, is she going to create potions that make her really powerful, or is it just that she makes really great potions, so she's just becoming rich off of that? I don't know, and I am really curious to check this one out and see how that whole thing works. On February 12th from J-Novel Club, we have volume number 4 of Lazy Dungeon Master. This one about a kid who is, again, it's an isekai. He finds himself taken from our world and finds himself put in charge of a dungeon. And his life is actually tied to the dungeon's success, so if the dungeon is destroyed, well, he's gonna die too. So it's really up to him to try and make his dungeon a great success. The only problem is he is just horridly lazy and really just wants to be able to lay down and sleep as much as humanly possible. The first book was admittedly kind of a mixed bag for me. I haven't gone back to read more of the series yet. There were a couple of things in the beginning of the book I was kind of like, I don't know whether this is for me. But I will say that it ended on a very strong note that did make me curious to read some more. I just haven't had a chance yet to get back to it. On February 15th from J-Novel Club, we have volume number 8 of How a Realist Hero Rebuilt the Kingdom. This one will now have them caught up with Japan's releases of this series. This one, another isekai about a boy who is summoned to a kingdom. The kingdom is poor and failing and in the middle of a famine, and basically they have summoned him for two reasons. There is a massive battle going on away from the kingdom with a demon army, and the empire that is holding the line against the demon empire has basically said to all these other countries that they're essentially protecting, hey, either pony up some money for resources or use your magic to summon a hero and send them to the front lines to help with the fight. So this poor kingdom, of course, has summoned a hero because they have absolutely no money. And the kid that they bring, Soma, he actually has a mind for civil engineering and economics and stuff like that, and he's a big history buff, and so he sits down with the king and manages to convince the king that there's a way to turn the kingdom around. The king is so impressed, he says, hey, how about you be king? And he abdicates the throne and gives this crown to Soma. And, well, you know how it goes. Hilarity, harems, town building, city building, civic unrest, all sorts of stuff happen. It's actually a really good series, particularly the early volumes. Now, I've only read, I think, the first, I'm trying to think, I think the first 3 or 4 volumes of the series, so I am a bit behind, but I was very impressed with the early parts of the series, and so impressed, actually, that we did a whole podcast on this series, so if you want to know my full thoughts and the thoughts of everybody else who's on the cast, you can check that one out, too. On February 16th from J-Novel Club, we have volume number 12 of I Saved Too Many Girls and Caused the Apocalypse. The comedy series about a boy whose bloodline seems to be cursed, blessed, I don't know how you'd want to say it, but basically, he's just a normal average dude, but for whatever reason, he keeps finding himself in situations where there is a damsel in distress that he has to rescue. And he does such a good job of rescuing them that they all fall in love with him, and well, basically, he's been told that if he keeps at it, these girls will eventually go to war over him and will destroy the universe. I mean, you know, no pressure or anything. I read the first volume of this series. It was cute. It was funny. It actually had some interesting structure elements to how it was put together. Admittedly, I never got around to reading more of it, and now I am horribly, horribly behind. If you're reading the series, how is it? What are your thoughts? I'd love to know that in the comments down below. On February 18th, from J-Novel Club, we have volume number 13 of Grimgar of Fantasy and Ash. Of course, this is the ebook release. Like I said, there's several volumes ahead. We've already talked about this one, so we're going to move on. On February 19th, we get a whole whack ton of Yenon's releases. First up, we have volume 18 of A Certain Magical Index. This series, I know nothing, I hardly know anything about it. There is an anime currently airing, which is supposedly going to finish out this series. I haven't heard a lot of good things actually about the anime. A lot of people seem to be pretty disappointed with it so far. If you want to know lots about this series and you don't mind spoilers, we did do a podcast on this one if you want to check that one out. Also on February 19th from Yenon, we have volume number 8 of Is It Wrong to Try to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon on the Side? Sword Oratoria. So this one, the side series to the Danmachi main series, this one focusing on the members of Loki Familia, kind of building up their characters, fleshing out their characters. Some of the series has its own original story. Some of it has it sort of interweaving with the main series. If you love Danmachi, it's definitely worth a read. I've read the first 2 so far. I do want to read some more of it because, well, I happen to love me some Danmachi. Also on February 19th from Yenon, we have volume number 7 of My Youth Romantic Comedy Is Wrong As I Expected. The slice of life, sort of high school, would you say romance? I don't know, because it's kind of wrong as he expected. Anyway, this one, really notable for its main character, Hachiman, who is very crass and very cynical and also throws out so many references to literature, pop culture, anime, and everything else that there is actually at the back of the book, there is an index that gives you an explanation for all of the things that he says in the book. I've read the first 3 volumes. I've got the 4th one on my shelf. I'm going to try and get that read this month. It'll either be like in the next 4 weeks or so, because I do want to get caught up on this series because I've actually really enjoyed it up to this point. Also on February 19th from Yenon, we have volume number 9 of ReZero, Starting Life in Another World. This one, the isekai series about a boy named Subaru who ends up in a fantasy world and basically discovers that the only power he has is to return after he dies. So if he is killed, he revives, but in the past, at a random point he has no control over. And so it basically is like, it's all kind of like Groundhog Day, you know, that whole die, repeat thing, but it doesn't always go back to the exact same day, and it's not like it's just one day. Like I said, it's just kind of random how it works, even though it does seem like there's maybe some kind of intelligence behind it. Anyway, volume number 9 finishes this, what was covered in the anime. So we're finally caught up at least to the anime with this series. I am only 1 volume behind. I've got 8 on my shelf, and I'm hoping to get that read because it's been a really great series that I've enjoyed, and I'd really like to sit down and watch the anime, so I'm kind of looking forward to getting through volume 9. Also on February 19th from Yenon, we have volume number 3 of Sword Art Online Alternative, Gale Online. This one, the series that focuses just on the game Gale Online. It's not even written by Reiki Kawahara, actually. It features characters that are not related to the main series. Like I said, it's pretty much just its own thing. It's basically focusing just on players of Gale Online. This 3rd volume is actually what was covered up until in the anime. So if you've watched the anime and you're kind of wondering where we are light novel wise, this will finally get you caught up to the anime. Volume 4 is where it'll be content beyond the anime. It really just focuses on this one girl in particular who she is really tall in real life, and she's actually felt very self-conscious about it. And so in the game, she plays this cute little chibi kind of girl who runs around in a pink outfit, killing everybody. I mean, you know, hey. Yeah, the first volume of this one was pretty fun. I mean, it really is like it's like written by a complete gun nut, and there's just tons and tons of gun battles and talk about guns and everything else. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like I said, I've only read the first volume, so I don't know if the story becomes a little bit more deeper as the series goes on. If you're aware of that, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Also on February 19th from Yenon, we have volume number 5 of The Empty Box and Zeroth Maria. The story about a teenage boy who attracts the much unwanted attention of this supernatural entity, and basically the entity starts handing out boxes to people, and the boxes fulfill their wishes, but in a very corrupted sort of way, and it ends up, you know, entrapping this kid. Like, the very first volume was, like, speaking of Groundhog and the whole repeating cycles, they were repeating 2 days, basically, in the first volume. It was cool how it was handled. It is a very interesting series. I really enjoyed the first 2 volumes. I've got the 3rd volume. I'll be reviewing that in February, so at least I'm a little bit closer to getting caught up. I think the series is actually coming close. Like, it is finished in Japan, and it is only, I think, 6 volumes. I'm pretty sure there's only 6 volumes. I should have double checked that, but I know it's only 6 or 7. Like, there's not much left. So pretty short series, but definitely based on the first 2 books, at least at this point, I can say worth the read. Finally, on February 19th from Yenon, we have their only brand new release, and this series is called WUFF WUFF Story. I Told You to Turn Me Into a Pampered Pooch, Not Fenrir. Volume number 1 of this one. After being worked quite literally to death, corporate slave Rota Okami's dying wish is to be reborn as the well-loved pet of a rich family. When a compassionate goddess actually grants him his wish, Rota commits himself to the lazy, carefree, all-you-can-nap lifestyle of a pampered pup, complete with a beautiful owner and all the delicious food he can eat. But as Rota grows, and grows, and grows, he realizes something is terribly wrong. With his enormous body, razor-sharp teeth, and fierce visage, it's painfully obvious that he was reincarnated not as a dog, but as a giant wolf. And not just any wolf, the legendary Wolf King Fenrir. So this one, I don't know much about it. I have not read it. Kyle on the podcast has read a little bit of it, and he was telling us about it. It sounds like it could be actually really kind of cute, and, you know, he of course is OP. I mean, he's like Fenrir, but but I mean, you want to talk about being a different kind of OP, he's like a powerful wolf. So I don't know, it's another in the long line of these reincarnation series where the main character is reincarnated as a non-human. And honestly, like, at this point, I've been really enjoying most of those, so I'm looking forward to checking this one out. On February 20th, from J-Novel Club, we have volume number 4 of An Archdemons Dilemma, How to Love Your Elf Bride. This one is a fantasy series about a powerful sorcerer who has the title Archdemon, so it's not like he's a demon lord or anything. And essentially, he sees this elf who is being offered up as a slave, and he buys her because he falls in love with her at first sight. And I know, like, the whole slavery thing people have an issue with, but I mean, it's not like he buys her to save her, basically, and he frees her. It's not like she's enslaved to him. And the first volume, it was really just about their kind of awkwardness, because both of them, you find, have very sort of damaging backgrounds, and their personalities are much of like really as a result of those horrible backstories that they have. And so they kind of each recognize that in the other there is something that is sort of a kinship, and that they have feelings for that person, but they just don't know how to express it or deal with it. And it was actually really cute. I'm actually kind of amazed we're at volume 4 already. It feels like I did not read the first volume of this one that long ago. I really did want to read more of this, because like I said, I like the first volume. On February 22nd from J-Novel Club, we have Oni Forever. I think this is the last in the Oni light novels. I'm not too sure though. This one, it's kind of funny actually. So initially there was an indie video game. Basically, you were trapped in this mansion. You had to escape the mansion, and chasing you through the mansion was this big blue monster that would eat you if it caught you. And so someone's turned this into a series of light novels. I read the first one, and actually it was surprisingly good. I haven't checked out any of the later ones because, well,
just haven't. But definitely the first volume, I was kind of surprised given the really basic premise of the game itself. I was quite impressed with how well that translated into the light novel. On February 23rd, from J-Novel Club, the last of their brand new releases for February, volume number 1 of Welcome to Japan, Miss Elf. This one, Kazuhiro Kitase's only hobby is sleeping. Ever since he was young, he would enter a wondrous world within his dreams and go on thrilling adventures. One day, he goes on an adventure with an elf girl he became friends with in his dream world, but it's put to an abrupt halt when they both get scorched with a dragon's breath. As he wakes up from his dream, he notices a familiar figure sleeping next to him. The elf girl from his dreams? Join Kazuhiro on his new adventures through Japan with Miss Elf. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to say about this, other than, you know what, we were talking about this when this was licensed on the podcast, and I can't remember who it was, but they were saying that just taking a look at some of the artwork from the light novel, it does kind of appear like it's not just going to be like, hey, let's tour around Japan and, you know, we've been supported by Tourism Japan kind of light novel. It's that apparently, I guess, some of this other fantasy world kind of spills over into the modern world. I'm not too sure how it works, but I'm curious to check this one out and sort of see what it's actually all about. On February 24th from J-Novel Club, we have volume number 6 of Infinite Stratos, the prototypical clueless main character who has beautiful girls throwing themselves at him left, right, and center, and he just doesn't get it. The series is basically set in the future, and the IS systems, these Infinite Stratos systems, are basically body armor that only women can wear and control until, of course, the main character, who turns out to be the only guy who can. And surprise, the one guy ends up in a school full of girls, and, well, you know how it goes. Hilarity and eshi and all the rest of that ensues. So, this one had several seasons of anime. I read the first volume of it just because I was kind of like, I wonder what this story is like in comparison to the anime. And, well, I will say the main character was a little bit frustrating, to be quite honest. Yeah, I mean, there's the cute kind of dents, which Katarina is in, All Routes Lead to Doom, but then there is just the really kind of annoying dents that you just want to give them a kick, and this dude certainly qualifies as that. On February 26th, from J-Novel Club, we have volume number 7 of How Not to Summon a Demon Lord. So, of course, this is just the digital release of this. And naturally, they only are releasing volumes 1 and 2 this month in the print edition, so it'll be a little while until volume 7 comes out in print. We've already talked about this series, so I'm just going to keep moving on because, man, this video is already pretty long. Also on February 26th, this one from Vertical, 5 centimeters per second, One More Side. A contemporary classic, 5 centimeters per second won animator Makoto Shinkai international renown as a rare talent. Indeed, he just might be one of the most powerful bards of romantic longing and thwarted love working today in any medium. This official novelization narrates from the other side, for instance, from the point of view of the girl rather than the boy in the legendary first segment, Cherry Blossoms, to tell a story that is both deeply engaging for first-timers and astonishingly fresh for fans of the film. The author of fantasy novels based on the Shining video game series, Arata Kano, is best known for his imaginative prose adaptations of the masterpieces of Japan's hottest animator. Most recently, his take on Your Name was #1 Kindle bestseller at Amazon Japan. So if you read Your Name, the novelization of that, and were impressed with the novelization of that, well, here's your guy. He's novelized this one as well. Should I be upset or embarrassed to admit that I've never seen 5 centimeters per second? Yeah, I just haven't. I don't know why. It's not any particular reason. I just guess I haven't had the opportunity to check it out. But maybe I will if I get the chance. Finally, on February 28th, we have volume 1 of Beast Blood. This is a new series from Cross Infinite World. As far as I know, there's only 2 volumes in the series. Desperate to escape her successful sister's shadow, Euphemia seeks independence as a biotech researcher fixated on destroying knights, a dangerous narcotic sought across the colonies. She never believed her life was in danger until a group of men pulled her from her car at gunpoint. Euphemia had also never met a beast blood, the non-human subspecies with animalistic qualities, until she was rescued by one. Zalade is a Muta hunter and a beast blood. When his hunt is interrupted by Euphemia's attackers, he saves her on a whim. Never expecting to see Euphemia again, he's shocked to receive a job protecting the spunky researcher who just might be his lifelong mate. Follow Euphemia and Zalade as they navigate a colony world brimming with peculiar beasts, powerful narcotics, dangerous criminals, and a budding interspecies romance. So this one mixing, well, science fiction, romance. You know, Cross Infinite World, they just bring out these very different titles. I don't know whether I'll check this one out. They got a whole bunch of titles that I actually do want to read that I haven't yet, and that's pretty bad of me. But I don't know. I don't know whether like the whole sci-fi mixed with romance thing is exactly my bag. But I'd love to hear, like, if any of you check this out, I would love to hear your thoughts about it at some point, because I am curious just to know what it's like. So those are all the light novels releasing in February of 2019. Which ones are you going to be spending your money on? And again, if you want to pick up any of these, I do have links for Amazon and the Book Depository where applicable in the description down below, as well as the release dates. So if you want to double check any of those dates without watching this long ass video again, you can do that. So if you hung in here until the very end, thank you so much for spending a lot of time with me in this video. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Till then, bye-bye for now.